1. I was working a Saturday morning shift by myself in the bar area of my restaurant. That section consists of 17 bar tables and a 20-person bar top. As the bartender, my other responsibilities are making drinks for everyone, and we have a full bar with 30 beers on tap. I also have the only dishwasher in the restaurant, so I wash 20-ounce drink cups, all of the various bar glasses, and silverware for the whole restaurant. From 12 to 3 that afternoon, the entire bar filled up and I did $1,500 in sales. The dining room part of the restaurant also filled up with only 3 servers for 36 tables. Only 4 kitchen guys when we should have like 7, and only 2 managers when there is usually 4. A manager took tables in the dining room, and for the first part of it, the other one was online helping in the kitchen. We had like 6 20-tops come in that time. I was trying not to freak out, but man, I almost cried like 4 different times. It was the most stressed I've ever been. About halfway through the madness, my manager steps in from the kitchen. He started doing dishes, clearing trash, greeting people I did not have a second for. My bar had already been full and just didn't stop. My heart is racing, thinking about it again. There is a Saturday morning regular who, long story short, just take my word for it, is fucking psycho and doesn't tip. Who comes in for the morning bartender we have. Sunday morning is her shift, and she is usually there. This regular talks way too much about absolutely nothing. She doesn't stop, and I hate seeing her and her husband on Saturdays. So unpleasant. Well, she came in. I had no time for her, so I let my manager deal with her at my bar top. She was very upset how messy the restaurant was, and took pictures of how out of order literally everything was. She was going to show the other bartender how terrible I am. I was in disbelief. This crazy person claims to have been a bartender in her past. It changes all the time, compulsive liar. I was losing my mind trying to keep my tables and priorities straight, but when I heard her talking shit about me to her husband, everything stopped, and I confronted her and I say, "Are you serious?" Her and her husband say nothing and don't break eye contact with each other, like I'm not there. So I say it again, and again nothing. I realized I was talking to an unstable woman and told myself to stop wasting my time. I turn my back to make some drink tickets and she gets up and says, "Here's your tip, fuck you," and storms out. I laugh and move on. Other customers complained and have been complaining since she started coming in, so the manager who was helping me told me it won't happen again. Her behavior was inappropriate, and next Saturday she will be kicked out. Bitch. She was the worst part of my day. Believe it or not, every single table was awesome during that shit show. I made so much money, way over 20% of my sales. And I have one less awful customer to deal with. 2. So my best friend manages a bar that had a lot of cockroach sightings. She noticed it when she was about 8 months in. But she would very rarely see one back in the kitchen, so she assumed that it was probably typical of a lot of bars and restaurants, and although it grossed her out, she's very jumpy with bugs, she informed the owner and then brushed it off. 2 years into her working there, the problem got really bad. Some memorable sightings during this time. One of the bartenders went to grab a beer from the cooler, one of those stand-up coolers with slide-open doors that you typically see in gas stations. But as she slid open the door, a cockroach fell down the front of her shirt. Bartenders would often find cockroaches floating in the water in the sinks that they had previously filled. During a busy lunch rush, one of the bartenders glanced over at the straw and bar napkin caddy, sitting on the bar top as she was taking her customer's order. Sitting on top of the straws in plain view, can you guess? Starts with K and ends with cockroach. She pretended not to see it until the customer noticed and told her about it. He walked out without paying his tab. My friend watched a cockroach drop from the ceiling and land on one of the tables before scurrying off. Luckily, they weren't open yet, so no customers were around. Behind the bar, they have a swing door. My friend and a regular watched as the biggest cockroach she had ever seen crawled up the door and ping-ponged itself back and forth across the window. They kept the glasses behind the bar right next to the server computer, stacked on one of those mesh bar mats. They have the power cord adapter block thing, with the computer laying on the counter behind the glasses. One day, the bar was slow, so my friend decided to clean all the counters behind the bar. She moved all the glasses off the bar mat, and as she lifted the mat, she saw hundreds of baby cockroaches crawling all over the underside of the mat. In her words, it looked like the mat was alive. Thanks to the heat coming off the adapter block of the computer, she essentially encountered a breeding ground. She had a family friend that was an electrician that volunteered to take a look at some electrical work that needed to be done in the kitchen. She was not there the day he came, but he later informed her of how the consultation went. He went to look behind one of the walls, where he discovered hundreds of cockroaches running around. He refused to do any work until the problem was taken care of. At that point, under any other circumstances, she'd have quit on the spot, but she loved her co-workers, the boss, and the bar regulars. She had the perfect schedule, and she made really good money, so she chose to stick it out. She complained to the owner, and he called an exterminator to come out. To her knowledge, he came every week to spray, and thankfully the problem was under control to where she saw only a couple in the first weeks or month, and then 0 sightings after that. Several months later, summer rolled around, and I was looking to make some extra money since I had more off days. I was already bartending at another place, so I was only looking for a couple extra shifts a week. My friend offered me a job. I immediately accepted because of how good of money she made, and I had honestly forgotten about the cockroaches because it had been so long since she had seen one. The first time I had ever seen her bar was when I went to fill out an application and talk to her boss, as it was about half an hour from my house and I was never out of that direction. It was not in the best shape, to say the least. Oh well, I'm an adapter. I could get over the desperate need for a good cleaning and a complete interior renovation if it meant I'd make good money. It was not the first time I had worked with my best friend, and I was really looking forward to working with her. After meeting her boss, he sealed the deal and I was hired on. My schedule was opening Thursdays and Fridays, and once one of the girls left for school, I could pick up some of her shifts if I wanted. During my first couple of weeks, everything was great. However, I noticed how gross the place was. I am a clean person in general, and though I'm not a stickler at work, I do clean a lot on my downtime because, hey, it's a restaurant and it should be clean. The servers and bartenders didn't care to clean anything, and I learned that there was no cleaning crew that came in every night like all the other bars I'd worked. The owner hired a woman to clean the bathrooms once a week, which is not enough for single-person bathrooms at a busy bar across the street from a truck stop. Everything felt gross. Every time I went back in the kitchen and took a good look around, I couldn't help but notice all the cockroaches splattered on the plastic walls. The cooks would see them, smash them, and disregard wiping their smooshed bodies, crinkled legs, and antennas off the walls. Ugh. Just a side note, I never once brought my purse into the building as a caution. Though the problem appeared to be solved, I was terrified of a cockroach crawling in and risking an infestation in my home. During my 3rd week of working there, my friend calls me to inform me of a horror story that happened during the daytime. One lady who had been coming in frequently for a few years stopped in with her family for lunch. The server brought her a water with lemon, but several minutes later, the woman waved my friend over to her table. She explained that she squeezed her lemon into her water and took a few drinks. After a few drinks, she accidentally sucked a lemon seed into her mouth through the straw. She then took the seed out of her mouth. She was horrified to see that it was not actually a seed. Y'all, this poor woman sucked a baby cockroach up into her mouth. I repeat, a baby cockroach went from the woman's water to the inside of her mouth through her straw. How the fuck did it get in there? God help her. She made a point to tell the owner. But judging by his actions following the event, he didn't care too much about it being an issue. He only hoped she would refrain from writing a bad review. And to my absolute surprise, she never did write one. A couple days after, I was scheduled to open. I remember being particularly jumpy while opening the bar, as I couldn't stop thinking about that water with lemon. I went into the kitchen to get ice out of the ice machine. I lifted the lid and to my horror, noticed that there were probably 20 visible small cockroaches littered throughout the ice. It was disgusting. Apparently the warmth of the motor was an attractive hangout spot for cockroaches, where they would then fall into the ice and die. I called my best friend and told her about it, and asked if the owner was going to call someone out to fumigate the building, or burn it down to the ground, whichever worked. She said she had talked to him several times since she was made aware that the cockroaches had returned. and he insisted he had a guy coming out. The next week I was once again opening the bar. I was walking to the other end of the bar to stock some beers when I noticed something moving out of the corner of my eye, chilling on a stack of plastic shot glasses on the shelf of liquor bottles. Right next to me was the largest live cockroach I've ever seen. Its body must have been 1.5 inches long, which is pretty large for a German cockroach, or at least the ones I've seen. I'll never forget seeing its antenna wiggling back and forth. Ugh. Up until this point, the only cockroaches I had seen were dead ones. I absolutely lost my shit. I started texting my mom, she's like my best friend, and she was my cockroach infestation confidant. Always listening empathetically to my complaints, telling her how disgusted I was by this bar. Throughout that entire shift, I sat on a stool as often as I could with my knees pulled up to my chest. Anytime my hair even brushed against my shoulder and neck, I'd jump thinking it was a fucking cockroach. In those moments, I decided I would never step foot in that building again. My mom, the savior that woman is, called the health department the next day and reported the bar, relaying the same encounters I've given here. I would have called myself, but I was at work and I knew there'd be an extra layer of anonymity if my mom called for me, as I was worried about someone finding out it was me. I called my friend on the way home and told her I couldn't do it anymore, that I refused to work somewhere where I'm on edge the entire time, while also being terrified of bringing cockroaches home with me. She said she, too, was growing increasingly uncomfortable with working there. She was annoyed with the owner's response to the problem. He blamed the exterminator he had coming out to spray, saying he wasn't doing a good job, but he was under a contract and couldn't call a different company. The way he explained it, it sounded like an obviously bullshit response. In my opinion, he didn't think it was that big of a deal or too expensive of an ordeal, and hoped we'd eventually stop complaining about it. I was scheduled to work the following morning, but I never showed up. Shortly after I quit, I was informed that the health department did a surprise inspection there. While walking through the server station in the kitchen, a cockroach ran by, but the owner kicked it out of the way before the health inspector could notice. Luckily, they still saw some scurrying around, and said that they have X amount of time to figure something out and get rid of the bugs before they come back for another inspection. At that point, if there was still a problem, they were going to shut the place down, though I'm not sure if they meant permanently or temporarily. That was 2 years ago, and my friend still works there, though she quit within a month after I did, got a job at my bar for a year, then went back to the cockroach bar. I would occasionally ask her if she had seen any more bugs, and she always said no. Until yesterday, when she saw 2 next to the bar sinks. It was then that I had horrific flashbacks of those cockroaches which prompted this post. I don't know why she still works there, good money or not. It's a hell fucking no from me, dog. 3. So at the time of this tale, I'm a host at a roadhouse that had recently finished training. Like just a week prior. Tonight was a night I had to work alone, my second ever, since the other hostess didn't show up. Coincidentally, this was also the second time ever I had to run board, with the first being the night before, which was also a solo night. So anyways, when I walk in, my manager comes up to the host stand and greets me. She asks how my day was, if I'm okay, and some other questions to make me feel at ease. After all that, she brings my attention to a slip of paper next to our board that read, customer name at 7 p.m. for 20 to 25, server name. She explains to me that the party of 20 to 25 was going to be given to the particular server, who I'll refer to as Awesome Server, AS. She'd come in at 5:30 p.m., take some tables, and not give her any more once 6:30 rolls by. After that, the manager, AS, and I would put together a total of 5 tables. 4 that sat 4 normally, and 1 that sat 6, to make room for 26 seats. AS would handle that party, with the manager helping here and there. To recap, we expected a party of at most 25 people, and were prepared to handle, at most, 25 people. When the time comes, I mark off AS's tables from the board and deal with a few more incoming parties. They're sat, nobody else is walking in, and no cars are parking. It's time to get the party of 25 tables ready. I meet my manager, and she already has about 3 tables set up. We get the rest connected, I run over to grab all the silverware and menus I had set aside for this, and set the table. AS puts down the small plate thingies and baskets of rolls. Table set. We're ready. Now bring on the beast. Just a tiny bit after 7 PM strikes, a lady walks in with around 3 other people and I greet her. Hi, welcome. How many?
I called earlier for Tamela.
Oh, Tamela, right this way. I bring the lady to the tables we had set for her party of 25 and watch her find a seat, with the rest of her immediate party doing the same. I think all is good, we're set, Gucci, splendid, ready to move on. So I go back to the host stand and realize I forgot to pick up the extra silverware I'd left, and go back to get it. I see one of Tamela's immediate party talking to my manager and overhear. We're gonna need more tables. This will fit 25. No, I mean there's going to be around 15 more. There's more teenagers coming. I'm sorry, but you called for a party of 25. My manager's smile drops into an expressionless stare, and I can see AS die a bit inside while she takes some orders for drinks. Give me a moment. I'll need to figure this out. But I can already tell you your party will have to be split up to fit the rest. I go back to my stand and, with that, a cringe smile on my face, and wait for more people to walk in. After a little bit, my manager comes up to tell me that the booths next to the string of tables will be given up, which will fit around 20 more people. AS won't be the only server anymore and will be accompanied by excellent server ES. She leaves and walks into the kitchen to prepare them, I'm guessing, and I go ahead and mark off ES's tables from the board. For the rest of the night, the majority of the people that came in were from Tamela's party. However, I did seat the few non-Tamelas on the other side of the restaurant. I was cut before I could see the 40+ leave, but I'm hoping that AS and ES got extraordinary tips for that. 4. I work in a fairly small burgerish place, around 23 tables, but we're quite popular with a large assortment of modifications that can be made to basically almost anything. We also have no food runners or anything, and there isn't a long wait period for food either. So doing multiple tables that are being iffy gets quite annoying. Where I live, Youth Day fell on Father's Day, and thus the public holiday was moved to Monday. This just means a busy Monday. No big deal. Just add some staff everywhere and we're good to go. Right? Wrong. My boss scheduled 5 waiters, which would have been fine, 1 bar lady with a torn ligament, and 1 dishy. One of our waiters called in sick with pink eye 10 minutes before opening. It's fine, we're not a bad group of waiters and we can usually handle ourselves, because our manager helps out whenever he can. Except our cashier, who handles all takeaways, Uber Eats orders, etc., says she's not feeling well and goes home, which means our manager is stuck trying to do everything. We're slammed, and all the waiters are running around. Our bar lady barely gets to do half the drinks and we can't exactly help, because the other tables want their orders taken. In walks 2 tables of 10. We decide to split into 2 groups and deal with them. My table decides to take their time with their drinks orders, while 3 other tables just sat down, and are busy placing their orders on order sheets and checking out the drinks menu. All fine. I punch their order and go to attend my other tables. Half of my drinks order is still not done and my co-waiter has my little paper with the drinks on. While I'm about to walk out with their drinks, the one guy asks for a new waiter because he's been waiting an hour for drinks. It's not even been 10 minutes, and I haven't even taken their orders yet. Fair enough, I should have taken their orders, but it seemed like they would need a lot of attention, and I didn't have that kind of time at that specific moment, and just wanted my other tables who sat before them to get their orders in. And my manager just tells him that is literally not possible. So we get the drinks out. I let the other waiter lead the table further. I clear some of the table's glasses and such when 2 of them order cappuccinos. Remember my bar lady with the fucked up foot? Yeah, she's busy with a shit ton of other orders, so I make their coffees myself. They're of course hot because I make a thicker foam but still bring the milk to a near boil. Take the order, 5 minutes later, he brings them to my manager who is nearly spinning at the cash desk and says they're cold. One of the kids keeps standing in our way. Open kitchen and we have very little space inside, which makes it difficult for us to move. The table continues to complain about shit service even though it's clear that we are not coping, and yet continues to order stuff every single time we even show our faces at their table. Their order was also huge with mods on most burgers, and some of the fries as well. It didn't help that our kitchen was also understaffed. All that went on while the place was still packed with tables that waited unreasonably but silently long for drinks and sometimes food. I apologized to most of my tables and such, but it was crazy. At least our manager went and got us energy drinks with the tips he made from tables he had to serve on our behalf. 5. A few years ago, I attended bar at a local restaurant that had just started serving Sunday brunch. And at the time we were struggling because in my mid-sized southern town, brunch hadn't quite caught on. When we did get dinners for Sunday brunch, they were almost always part of the post-church crowd. On this particular Sunday, in addition to covering the bar, I was taking tables. The door opened and in thundered a pack of frowning, scowling, short-haired church biddies. 11 of them, all in chaste floral dresses. Our restaurant was relatively small. It seated only about 50 people, and most of the seating was on movable wall-mounted booths. The only place to seat an 11-top was at the very back, near the kitchen, where a few 2-tops could be pushed together to form a long table. Immediately, the ringleader complained about sitting at the back. Our host said, "I'm sorry, but this is the only place we can seat a large party." Ringleader scoffed, and she had all the ladies begrudgingly take their seats. Then it was my turn to address the congregation. "Can I start you off with something to drink, maybe something from the bar?" Of course, there was no way in hell any of these women would be seen in public drinking alcohol. But it was fun to ask. Around the table, all 11 of them,
"I'll have sweet tea."
If you've never lived in the South, you might not know about sweet tea. When a sensible person makes iced tea, he might add a spoon of sugar. But when a true Southerner makes tea, he shovels in scoop after scoop of sugar until he's mixed up a viscous honey-sweet syrup that everyone around here drinks by the gallon. I delivered the teas and went into my speech. "Welcome to our restaurant. Our brunch special today is Crab Benedict, which is 2 fried crab cakes on top of fried green tomatoes, topped with poached." Ringleader snapped her menu shut, cutting me off, looking shocked, offended, even aghast. She said with the slowest, most measured, condescending tone,
We're ladies. We eat salads."
So I shut up and took their order. 6 of them ordered the fried chicken salad. Here's the fried chicken salad. A bed of mixed greens tossed in house-made honey mustard, then absolutely piled with fried chicken tenders, tomatoes, shredded cheddar, avocado, and bacon. The salad was comically large, and the chef once told me he figured it was about 1,500 calories without dressing. Now the dressing, the honey mustard, was the richest, most indulgent flavor sludge ever gooped onto a salad. The main ingredient in a batch of that honey mustard was an industrial-sized tub of Duke's mayo. The honey, mustard, and seasonings made it delicious, but a serving of that dressing was basically a bowl of mayonnaise. When I delivered the food, one woman, without taking a bite, said,
"I'll need another dressing."
Followed by,
"Me too, me too."
All 6 salad eaters asked for a second dressing. Within moments I had delivered the dressings, and all 6 women dumped their dressings on their salads and mushed them around the greens and fatty toppings. Ringleader said,
"This isn't enough. I need more dressing. You might as well bring another for everyone."
So I did. And those ladies demolished 6 fried chicken salads with triple honey mustard, and refill after refill of sugar-laden sweet tea. 6 people each had 3 ramekins of honey mustard. That's 18 servings. And each serving was 2 ounces, which means those women drank 36 ounces of honey mustard, which again was mostly mayo. That's a wine bottle and a half of mayonnaise. They each paid separately and tipped about 8%. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates number 50. 50 weeks we've been doing this. 2 more weeks, that makes a year. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Right, you guys get this on Saturday. I'll probably do a stream on Saturday, either Saturday or Sunday. I'm thinking we're all going to go on a trip on the Titanic, or rather, we're going to look around the wreckage of the Titanic. I've had it for a while, I've only messed around in the sandbox a bit, but we'll probably play a bit of the actual game, where there's little tasks for you to do, and I've got the hang of the controls now anyway, so that should be fun. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.